Unraveling, Part 1. History is not merely written by the victors. Consider the Library of Alexandria, a treasure trove of ancient knowledge reduced to ashes, or the countless indigenous histories erased by colonization. The past is curated, shaped, and, when necessary, erased. It is curated, shaped, and, when necessary, erased. I never truly understood this until I stumbled upon something that should not have been forgotten. Something that was deliberately erased from memory. I am a historian, or at least I was. My work revolved around studying early human civilizations, tracing the roots of language, and deciphering remnants of the past. Most of my colleagues spent their time arguing over pottery fragments and burial rites. But I was different. I had a fixation on the anomalies, the things that didn't fit neatly into the accepted timeline. And that obsession led me to the manuscript that ruined my life. It began in an unremarkable archive in Thessaloniki, Greece. I had been given access to a collection of untranslated texts found beneath the ruins of an old Byzantine chapel. The Vatican had reportedly stored them away centuries ago, deeming them heretical folklore. But something about them caught my eye. They were older than the chapel, much older, written in a language that resembled no known script. I spent weeks analyzing them, running comparisons, until I found a peculiar match, not with any language still spoken, but with an inscription found in a cave in Kazakhstan, dating back at least 20,000 years. That should have been impossible. A discovery of this magnitude defied everything we understood about the development of human civilization. It was as if a forgotten chapter of history had been torn from the pages of time, leaving only cryptic remnants in its wake. Human civilization, as we understand it, only began around 10,000 years ago. And yet, here I was, staring at a document that suggested an advanced system of writing long before we believed it could exist. The implications were staggering. If the manuscript was authentic, it would rewrite the entirety of human history. I made the mistake of reaching out to my colleagues for guidance, unaware that this simple act would unravel my entire life. Within a week, my funding was revoked. My emails to linguists and archaeologists went unanswered. I was dismissed from my university with vague reasoning about misconduct. And then the threats began. Anonymous messages warning me to let it go. One simply read, "You are looking where you shouldn't. Stop now, or you will disappear like the others." To forget what I had seen. But I couldn't. Now I had just begun to translate the text. The manuscript told of something monstrous. Not gods, nor demons, but something else entirely. Something that predated us. Something we were never meant to remember. It referred to them only as the architects. Their reign-span eons, shaping continents, guiding the evolution of species, and weaving a grand design we were never meant to see. And then, inexplicably, they vanished. Not through war, not through some natural disaster, but through something else. Something described in terms too fractured and cryptic to fully understand. A word, recurring throughout the manuscript, loosely translated to unraveling. According to the text, humanity was not their creation but their successor. We had inherited a world they had meticulously crafted, a world designed with a purpose we had long since forgotten. And that, I realized, was the true horror, the possibility that everything we had ever built, every civilization, every monument, was not of our own making, but the remnants of something else's plan. This was why the manuscript had been hidden away. It wasn't a mere relic, it was a warning. I traced mentions of similar texts across different cultures, scraps of forbidden knowledge buried in myth and religious allegory. The Mayan Popol Vuh spoke of a time before time, when men were made and remade until they could no longer see what came before them. The Sumerians wrote of beings who shaped the land, who walked without form and spoke without sound. Even the Bible's book of Genesis contained peculiar remnants of this suppressed past, subtle hints and phrases like "let us make man in our image." I was beginning to understand why I had been silenced. This knowledge was dangerous, not because it challenged our understanding of history, but because it implied we were living in the ruins of something unfinished, something waiting to be resumed. Days of restless searching led me to a final, undeniable truth. Something lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered. My hands trembled as I pieced together the clues, my mind teetering between revelation and terror. And then, I discovered the site. The final clue came from an obscure text attributed to a 12th century Persian scholar, Al-Jazari, who wrote of a forbidden city beneath the sands of the Rub al-Khali desert. The description mirrored passages from the manuscript, references to a place where the stone sings and the air breathes. I gathered what funds I could, secured false credentials, and found myself standing in the vast emptiness of the desert. What I found was not a city. It was something far older. Buried beneath the shifting sands lay a structure unlike anything I had ever seen, monolithic slabs, their surfaces etched with indecipherable symbols that pulsed faintly under the dim desert sun. The arrangement of the stones was unnatural, their symmetry so precise that it defied erosion and time itself. I reached out and pressed my palm against the nearest slab, expecting the coolness of stone. Instead, it was warm, almost unnervingly so, as if something deep within it was alive, thrumming with a low, rhythmic pulse that I could feel in my bones. The air grew thick, carrying with it an electric charge that made the fine hairs on my arms rise. A deep sense of unease settled over me as I took cautious steps forward, my breath shallow. Each footfall echoed strangely, the sound swallowed up too quickly, as though the very space around me resisted the presence of an intruder. There was something wrong with this place. It was ancient, but untouched. Buried, yet waiting. It was not merely old, it was preserved, maintained by forces I could neither see nor comprehend. The symbols on the stone began to change before my eyes, shifting subtly as if reacting to my presence. My mind struggled to make sense of what I was seeing, the characters flickering between familiar patterns and complete gibberish. Then the low hum began, distant at first, almost imperceptible. It rose in frequency, worming its way past my ears and into my thoughts. It wasn't just sound, it was something deeper, something fundamental, vibrating inside me as though trying to unlock something dormant within my very being. Panic surged through me, and I turned to leave, but my legs refused to move. A pressure built in my skull, growing stronger with each passing second, and then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the hum ceased. I stumbled backward, gasping for breath, and in that moment of silence, I felt it. Something was aware of me, watching me. A presence, vast and unfathomable, stirred beneath the surface of this place. And it knew I was here. The air around it felt heavier, as though infused with an ancient presence, and each breath carried the scent of dust and something else, something metallic, almost electric. Slabs of stone arranged in unnatural symmetry, marked with the same script from the manuscript. As I ventured deeper, I felt an overwhelming sense of displacement, as if I were walking through something that did not belong in our world. And then, I heard it. A low, droning hum. Not mechanical, not alive, something between the two. The stone itself vibrated under my touch, resonating with an ancient frequency that bypassed my ears and sank directly into my mind. My vision blurred. My thoughts fragmented. I saw glimpses of something vast, something immeasurable, folding and unfolding through time. The architects. Their presence was not gone, it was merely dormant, embedded within the structures they had left behind. Waiting. I do not remember leaving the site. Only that I awoke miles away, my body covered in cryptic markings I had never seen before. My journal was missing. My recordings erased. And yet, I know what I saw. I know what I felt. History is not merely forgotten. It is suppressed. And sometimes, what is buried does not wish to stay that way. I am writing this now as a warning. If you ever come across an anomaly in history, a story that doesn't fit, a relic that defies explanation, leave it be. There are things we were never meant to remember. And now, I fear that they remember me.